Tom?
Say something. Say.
Let's come on in, please, and have a seat. Tom, it's got to be pushed. You're gonna need to be standing by. Just push it up this way. There we go. So the kids. Okay, good. Yeah. Let's take a seat, please. I'd like to begin our ceremony today by introducing the Hyde School faculty team. Woohoo! Looking good, everybody. Like teachers everywhere over these last few years, as we struggled through so many challenges, we learned to do a lot of things. People at Hyde do a lot of things anyway. But I will say that this group is one of the finest group of happy-to-do-it teachers you're ever going to find committed to your students. Thank you all for all you have done for this school. And now, the reason why we're here, I'm proud to introduce the class of 2022.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, and let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true.
Welcome to our Hyde graduation ceremony. As we take in the beauty of this incredible day and process, and we celebrate this group, we are acutely aware that many in our world are suffering. Our hearts go out to those who are experiencing atrocities, loss, and suffering through the conflict in Ukraine, the pandemic, gun violence, school and mass shootings, racial strife and divisiveness. Each month seems to present another unthinkable tragedy that we are asked to absorb and try and keep putting one foot in front of the other. because we do not believe change can or will happen. Hyde's founding statement has been a commitment to create change in our culture when every individual is gifted with a unique potential that defines a destiny. The person who wrote that statement in 1966 believed that education needed to be about the dignity and worth of each student and honoring their opportunity to fulfill their unique place in the world. Our founder, Joseph Gould, is here today. We salute you for breaking ground when few wanted to talk about character education as the answer for meaningful achievement. Our world certainly needs more character education if we are going to bring about any kind of change before it's too late. Thank you, Joey. Today we honor the class of 2022 who have led Hyde through an amazing year of growth and challenge. While many of them will speak for themselves today, not everyone has decided to speak today. Some are still in process, or they've chosen to make their speeches at a later date when they are ready. Yet they and their families graduate today with honor and integrity. Making a speech when you are ready and not just at a designated time period is one of those many only at Hyde experiences. There's one student who will stand with her class today who is in process and will wrap up this summer. Her growth has inspired us all, and as I read her name, I would like her to stand. Olivia Grace Buddha. This year, we continued growing back from the COVID restrictions and challenges. While we still had to continue to face those challenges, we got back to being a school. Academics, sports every afternoon, public speaking, performing arts, leadership, parents on campus, here to grow alongside their children. This class set their legacy in September with the following goals. Number 1, set an example for others to follow. Number 2, positivity. Number 3, unity. Number 4, respect for self and for each other. 5, honest communication. And 6, a commitment to be each other's keeper. While we had our challenges, it became clear this spring that we had become a family. We owe much of this to this group, who embraced the senior evaluation process and set a tone for the rest of us. Martha Graham speaks about that unique spirit when she says, there is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. If you block it, it will never exist in any other medium. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how it compares with others. It is your business to keep it clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. To our group, never forget, at one moment you got a glimpse of your best. You can never unknow what you have learned. You have received a world-class education at Hyde School. Make it count and never count yourself out. You know how to get out of a hole. You know how to embrace change. You know how to challenge yourself. You know how to find the courage to speak and use your voice. We are excited to see where your path will take you in a world that so desperately needs character-based leaders. And now, on to the speeches. As I read each graduate's name, I ask the parents and the family members to stand while they share their thoughts or receive their diplomas. Lance Laurent Altenor.
Hello? Okay. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent. Growing up, I struggled with being too independent and not being vulnerable. I built my life around basketball rather than building my character. I never saw anything wrong with that until I came to Hyde. Upon arriving campus, I quickly learned about family weekends. During my first family weekend, I experienced a new type of culture. The amount of feedback I gave and received was overwhelming. This gave me the courage to step outside of my comfort zone. Then came auditions. When I first heard I would have to sing in front of the entire school, I was in complete shock. When it was time, I wanted to isolate myself and hide as I had previously done in my life whenever a tough situation came around. Instead, with the encouragement of my peers and the faculty, I found the motivation to overcome my fear, trusted myself, and sang like Bruno Mars. Throughout this school year, I've learned that I can be insightful when I speak up and use my voice. When I don't speak up, I let myself and others down. I saw that believing in myself made me a better leader in basketball, it made me a better brother, and it made me a better son, but most importantly, it made me a better person. When I ask for help and I'm vulnerable, it makes me stronger. It also gives others permission to be open around me. Thank you, Hyde, for giving me the opportunity to allow myself to grow. Thank you to my family for never giving up on me and loving me unconditionally.
Gabriela Zavedo Gomez de Figueiredo.
Good morning. Before I stepped onto that plane to leave home 10 months ago, I was a girl who was scared of making decisions and exercising my independence. While my family has always been supportive of me, it was my mother who always encouraged me to be outgoing and adventurous. We would spend our free time shopping together, talking about America, our trips to Disney World, and my dreams of studying abroad. About 4 years ago, I lost my mom. After her passing, grief and a lack of ambition kept me from challenging myself. Despite the many loving shoulders of support my family graciously offered, opportunities for growth seemingly just passed me by. It became increasingly apparent that I was not living up to my potential, and that the girl in the airport had some big steps to take. Instead of letting people make decisions for me, I made the choice to come to Hyde this year. I made the choice to be proactive. I made the choice to be a better version of myself, and I'm glad I did. Thanks to my time here at Hyde, I can now clearly communicate my strong personality, and the courage I've realized was in me all along. I was even crowned Star of the Week on more than one occasion. I'm proud of myself for embracing the experience from day one. My faith brought me here, with the virtues and the leadership skills my parents instilled in me as a child. I let go of the fears that held me back, and in return, I have been rewarded with higher expectations for myself and a greater love for my now larger family. Thank you.
Sanaya L'Oreal Banks.
One thing I've always admired about my mom was her friends. I envied the support that they provided and the amount to which they cared for each other. You could say my mother had a sense of community around her. I grew up moving around frequently, never really making any childhood friends. I had tons of friends growing up, but they never really went beyond the surface. At the end of my junior year, I didn't really feel close to anyone, so I decided to attend Hyde for my senior year. I didn't really know what to expect, except I knew I had to be open and vulnerable, which was a challenge that I had to overcome. What came out of this year was much more than I imagined. I became more confident in speaking up. I've always been a pretty vocal person, but I tended to shy away from speaking in front of large audiences. The continuous sessions of public speaking, multiple meetings I've led, and that constant queasy feeling in my stomach that I get when it's my turn to speak all led up to me being here. Don't get me wrong, I'm still extremely nervous to be up here, and the queasy feeling is not gone, but I have learned to work through it. Finally, I gained a community and found lifelong friends, the type of friends that I was told I would have to wait till college to find. I've made profound connections and that I'm able to rely on for support. My mom's friendships made me realize that having a community and a support system is essential to navigating life. My senior year at Hyde has been a roller coaster of emotions and moments, but with great satisfaction, I'm happy to say that I have made meaningful relationships and connections that will continue way beyond Hyde School.
Ryan Colby Blumenthal. Sophia Borzetta. Chase Joseph Brooks.
Hello. In 5th grade, my teachers held classroom spelling bees. I was always the first one out. I was humiliated. Instead of counting my losses, I decided to study the words every night for hours. 6 years later, at age 16, I was diagnosed late with dyslexia. My entire world was flipped upside down. I knew I had to shift gears. Instead of viewing dyslexia as a disadvantage, I viewed it as an asset and felt grounded. I was doing well for myself, then COVID happened. My world flipped again, and the same old feeling of helplessness resurfaced. My parents and I knew I needed a change. The next leg of my journey took me to Utah to a wilderness program. I had never been camping before, let alone away from home for more than a day. I lost 40 pounds, hiked hundreds of miles, peaked multiple mountains, and slept in negative 15-degree weather. I came out of those 80 days better than ever. The path God gave me has not been an easy one, but I'm grateful because I know what I'm capable of achieving and how resilient I am. 5th grade Chase was happy with his 6th place finish in the classroom spelling bee. I am happy for him too and wish he could see me today. It feels surreal that I've made it to this moment when I can finally say I saw something through to the end. Mom, you have taken every opportunity to involve yourself in my life, and you are the pillar of my hope. Dad, every time I fall behind, you come back for me, and you see things in me that I can't always see in myself. Garrett, it means the world to me that you are here today, and I want you to know how proud I am of your academic achievements and your work in school. And to all three of you, I love you, and here's to the future. Thank you.
Daniel Kenneth Carey.
I never thought I would be standing here. I never thought I would be standing here today, giving a speech before I never thought I would be standing here today, giving a speech. Before I came to Hyde, I did not really talk to anyone. I had no confidence and I isolated myself. Things started to change for me when I got here. I had better relationships with people and my confidence grew. I felt more positive about my life. I built more trust with my family and I was able to tell them how I really felt sometimes. I have worked very hard on myself these past 3 years. I found more speak up. I've worked on my health and fitness every day. Decisions that I make in the moment have profound consequences, so I've learned to think hard about them. One day I put on my running shoes and went for a jog. I knew I wanted to change, so I committed to running every day. After a while, I started to feel happier about life I was really accomplishing something, which made me proud. I am said to lead by example, but I never really thought of myself as a leader. I do know this. Each day I get up with a purpose, and I address those around me with an understanding of what it is to struggle. My vision for my future is to live in the moment, be positive, and be a light for others. I want to be successful at whatever I choose to do. I can do this by not procrastinating, focus on what is important, and remembering that it is okay to ask for help. I couldn't have gotten here without the support of you, Mom, Dad, and Riley. All three of you have been the best people for me through this whole entire process. And thank you for everybody else's support.
Caroline Virginia Christy Mizell.
Good morning. Self-development involves growth and the enchantment of all aspects of a person, including the feelings the person has about themselves. That being said, I can confidently stand in your presence today and say this year my theme was growth. When transferring to Hyde, I was emotionally confused, irritated, and disrespectful to the family who was trying to help me. At my old school, I rarely went to class and did not turn in my work. This resulted almost failing my sophomore and junior year. I hated the thought of graduating or even staying in school. I did the bare minimum and I was comfortable, but that was not going to cut it. I had to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had to learn to reach out to people and ask for help and let my peers hold me accountable. This led my decision to come to Hyde, where I had become a better student and a better person. Growing up, my grandmother always used to say, the hardest moments in life are the biggest opportunities for change. Losing her was one of the hardest moments, and now that I am motivated and inspired and excited to move forward with the wisdom that she once shared with me. As for the senior class, I love you all dearly, and I am so very proud of who you guys have become. I am excited to see what the future holds for each and every one of you. Next year, I will be studying developmental psychology and sociology at Miami-Dade Community College. Last but not least, I would like to thank my parents for all you have done. I love you so very much. Thank you.
Yvonne Nilsson Jesus Diaz Dominguez.
I made it. Challenge is the word that describes my experience here at Hyde. It was a challenge for me to be away from my family and friends, but the Hyde community did the best they could to make me feel comfortable. I was also welcomed by a close group of friends that I met here. Soccer is what initially brought me to Hyde, even though it is something that I already know how to do. I was forced to challenge myself on how to be a leader and how to be patient with my teammates. Throughout this season, I found ways to improve myself in a way to make our team better. In order to make this happen, I had to open myself more and show my emotions, express how I felt. Where I come from, this is typically seen as a sign of weakness by everyone. Growing up, I had to be strong and deal with my own problems and struggles. It was hard for me to be vulnerable, but when I got to Hyde, I realized it was going to be the key to my success. There was one time when Miss Gold challenged me to share my life story in front of the whole school. I had to share a moment in my life where I showed courage. I was nervous, but when I stood up and looked out, everyone in the community was listening to what I had to say. I would also like to thank my mom and my dad for the support that they gave me. Thank you.
Jacob Daniel Farnham.
All right, let's get it going, I guess. I didn't come to Hyde expecting to make so much growth. I expected to come in and treat it like my former public school and just graduate. These past 2 years have taught me more about myself than any other time in my life. Hyde has been full of memorable moments. I never expected to wake up early on a Saturday morning to dance with the school. I never expected to stand up in front of the school and sing a Taylor Swift song. A memory that will stick with me forever is this year's NEPSAC quarterfinals basketball game against Green Farms. Having played them early in the season and losing, I was nervous and excited at the same time. But when I saw all the students there to support the team after driving 3 hours, my nerves went away. The final seconds of the game, when we knew we were going to win and all the students ran onto the court to celebrate with us, is a memory that's everlasting. I'd like to thank all my family here today. Most importantly, my mom and dad. Mom, I'd like to thank you for not freaking out when I gave you a phone call 2 days before that I was leaving to a boarding school 2 hours away. And thank you, Dad, for jumping in head first when I randomly told you halfway through my senior year that I wanted to go to a boarding school. Thank you.
Eli James Felt.
Hello. For those of you who don't know, I grew up on a Hyde campus. And some surprising yet frequent questions I am asked by other students are, do you do seminars when you are home? Or do you call your parents Mr. and Mrs. Felt? And lastly, the best of all, I feel terrible for you. Being a student and also a faculty kid is a difficult thing that very few can relate to. My first year at Hyde was anything but easy. My family had just moved to a new state, and the decision to attend Hyde was not my first choice. I had resentment and anger about the situation, so I closed myself off. I isolated myself from everyone and kept thinking that I didn't belong here. The wall that I put up pushed me away from everybody. I felt alone. In the spring of my junior year, an FLC changed my perception. I received feedback about how I was closed off to myself, and that had a negative impact on me. I was constantly complaining and thinking about the negative instead of being happy. I made a decision to confront myself and my feelings. Following this realization, I went into my senior year with a different mindset. I finally found my footing at school and made an awesome group of friends and memories. I no longer lived my life behind a wall and closed myself off from everyone. I tried new things like swimming to take a risk, and I dropped old things like basketball, sorry Mr. Bragg, which kept me in my comfort zone. Lastly, I know I will leave making an impact. Thank you to my friends, teachers, coaches, and family.
Jeremy George Frazier.
Hello, everybody. When I came to Hyde, I thought I was just here to play basketball. But in the fall, I was immediately challenged by having to choose a sport I had never really played before, soccer. To make things even harder, I was the goalie. The first game of the season was at Rocky Hill in Rhode Island. I kept thinking to myself, why am I having to go 5 hours to play a sport I don't even like? To make things worse, it was a miserable day outside. We had to play on a soaked, muddy field, which made me want to play even less. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I dove for a ball and sprained my finger on the ground. Later on, I got another ball kicked at me and hit my middle finger and ended up fracturing it. After the game, I got back on the bus, freezing cold with 2 hurt fingers for a 5-hour bus ride home, not to mention a 3-0 loss. Soccer taught me so much about my character and what I am capable of. In my life, I have always worked hard on things that I was passionate about, but quit when things got hard. However, that soccer season, I stuck through the hard times, even when I didn't always like what I was doing. I learned that some things are going to be very hard in life, but it's the way you bounce back that is important. I just keep giving it my all. In the end, I had a very successful season, making it to the MESAD and New England Championships. I learned that I am more resilient than I ever thought. Thank you.
Vanessa Reese Gardner.
Good morning to my family, my friends, the members of Hyde, and everybody else in attendance. Today is a day of celebration. Hyde has met me with challenges and victories. I've become much stronger since my arrival this fall. My inky strength has shown itself physically in mental toughness and in emotional well-being. I've become way more self-aware, and I have realized things about myself that I didn't even think about before this year. Hyde has taught me many things. To not believe everything I hear. To question authority. Real friends are rarer than I used to think. Think about what I'm going to say before I say it. Be vulnerable with those that I trust. And lastly, being genuine is the key to forming real relationships. These lessons have shown me who I was, who I am, and who I want to be. I would not be here today without my family. Mom, I did not realize how much you did for me and the family before I sat down with you a couple of weeks ago and looked at your yearly planner. There were so many different highlighter colors, meetings, sporting events, and way more that I could barely start to understand. I want to tell you how truly grateful I am for the countless hours of sacrifice, planning, loving, and helping me grow into the young man I am today. I genuinely would not be at this podium if it wasn't for you. Mom, I love you. Dad, you have taught me so many lessons that you don't even realize. The constant reminders of how proud you are of me and how much you love me have been more important in my childhood than you could even know. I never had to question belief in me, and that helped me believe in myself. You were a true role model for the man I aspire to become and for the life I want to live. Dad, I love you. B4L.
George Partner Hanson.
Hi. At first, I was not happy to be at Hyde for my senior year. This past fall, barely anyone on campus knew me because I wouldn't leave my room except for the occasional meal. I was failing most classes and had no idea where I would be by the end of the year. The past few years had not been easy for me either. The August before my sophomore year, I came down with a deadly stomach infection called C. diff. It took 8 months for me to recover. I lost my sophomore year to this infection and would be a year behind my friends. When I was ready for take 2 on my sophomore year, I picked up where I left off and went back to the school I had planned on attending the previous year. Only this year, it was 2020, and COVID hit that spring, so I went virtual for the rest of the year. My junior year went like most other students' years, sometimes in class, sometimes virtual, too much inside at home, not really preparing for the future. And then I was told I had to go to a new school. I definitely was not happy to be at Hyde. But during my fall family weekend, something clicked, and I realized that all I've been through these past years would have been pointless if I threw everything away I had going for me. I turned a new leaf and started to show up so people could get to know the real me. Now, standing here today, I could say the challenges and obstacles I went through to get here were worth it. Mom and Dad, thank you for always being in my corner.
Ruby Juliet Hewitt.
When I was 6 years old, I decided it was time to leave home. Ritz crackers, a bottle of honey, and my blind pug Sadie was all I needed for my grand escape. I ran away, but I only made it as far as the house or the parking lot across the street from my house. I sat there, petting my dog, eating my crackers, and secretly waiting for someone to come and get me. When it started to get dark and I realized no one was coming to get me, I got scared and sulked back into the house, hoping to be undetected in my admittance of defeat. I have a pattern of running away when things get difficult. I didn't know how much I was cheating myself by doing this until one day when I first got to Hyde. I was thinking about my childhood, and I remembered this experience of running away. At that moment, I realized I had wasted so much valuable time and energy avoiding discomfort, and that I would never be able to achieve my goals if I was always running away from myself. I sat with this for a long time. To be honest, I tried to ignore it. But in these past 2 years of high school, during a worldwide pandemic, I've had no other choice but to buck up and relinquish my fear of discomfort. I have proven to myself that I'm 100% capable of handling whatever life throws at me. As I stand here today to deliver this speech, I find comfort in knowing that I'm not running, but walking into this new phase of my life. Thank you, and l'chaim.
Tyshawn Kidane Horton.
Since I had a lot of hair, it was often hard for people to tell who was the boy in the family. I went through a lot of challenges in my neighborhood. I went through a lot of challenges in my neighborhood because of that. I was never the best at school, but I was a phenomenal athlete. In my 9th grade, I have a lot of challenges in my year. I passed only 2 classes, which was gym and math. Like, come on, like, who fails gym? It's basically free time, honestly. Coming out of my 9th grade with 2 credits, I felt good. I wasn't proud, but I was okay. I didn't have a big dream of going to college, or I definitely didn't have a dream of owning my own business, so I didn't see the big deal. My 10th grade year hit, my life flipped upside down. My family split up. I had to live with my uncle. The time I spent with him matured me in many different ways. And honestly gave me hope. He gave me hope in being successful and told me that it doesn't matter your background. You just have to want it. So I did want it. I started working harder. People assumed that my uncle helped me for looking for schools. People assumed that he helped me study and do homework. No, for the first time in my life, I was independent. I'm here because of me. I'm speaking to y'all because I fought to come here. I fought to be here, and I'm proud of being here. A quote that helped me to move on, and I'll leave with y'all by me. I want to be more than what I was given. Thank you.
Fenton John Charles Kamen.
Sean, that class that you call free time, I failed on more than one occasion. I'm a coffee snob. My morning rituals all revolve around coffee, which is why it's so believable that my friends who know me best would probably say that coffee runs through my veins, but it's not. It's salt water. The ocean has always been and always will be my home. With the ocean's breeze and plenty of sand on my face, I am safe to be myself. At the ocean's edge, I feel safe to let go of my anxieties. I can embrace my inner child, yet I understand that I have a responsibility to the ocean as well. Most people feel at home in a house. I don't. I feel at home so far out that you can't see land. A place that you feel so small, so powerless, that you can't help but think, what's the point of it all? For me, the point is embracing the vastness and learning about the emptiness. Feelings that normally make me feel depressed, angry, small, and not good enough are what drive me to the ocean. The knowledge that when I am there, I am nothing. When I'm at the ocean's edge, I am at the mercy of what it commands me to do, and I listen. For me, this feeling is materialized in my next steps in life. I will study marine biology at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. There, I hope to continue the work that I have done at Hyde by being curious and true to myself. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for helping me on my long, not always straightforward journey. I remember snorkeling with you both one Christmas and yelling "shark," scaring my younger cousin so badly that he happened to get out of the water. We all look back and laugh on it to this day, but I know how scared he was at that moment. As a family that lives for the ocean, I can't wait to make more memories with you there together. Thank you.
Xing-Chun Liu.
Morning, everyone. Life is a process of growing up. Even me standing here is a growth. If a person's life is made of various choices, then I grew up along with these choices. When I came to Hyde, I told myself that this is the beginning of my future. It all starts here. I will learn to become a man, an integrated man who has a healthy and strong body that can take on important tasks, who has a rational thinking, an open mind, and the ability to judge right and wrong. Once my teacher said, "You are not a tailor, you are a stylist. Never forget what you should show to people is your thought, not your craft." I will put my whole self into my studies. During this process, I combined learning with practicing. This school benefited me a lot during these 3 years of education. More importantly, it was the education of my personal values. This school taught me how to connect with others and how to think back on my life in the past. Usually, I can get a couple of hints from it, and then I can prepare and look forward to a better future. What does the future mean? Maybe it's a nice wish, but once I only hoped to go to the college, and now that hope has come true. I will attend Lehigh University in the fall, and after that, who knows what the future will bring. And finally, I want to thank my parents who provided me the opportunity and always support me in every aspect. Thank you very much.
Angel Lutz.
Wow, okay. 4 years ago, I sat in these seats like all of you, with one thought on my mind. Wow, I never want to come here. 2 months later, I stood on the steps of Governor's Hall and watched my parents drive away. After Summer Challenge, I was more positive than ever that I didn't want to come back. And it would be another 2 years before I would return. I was afraid to confront a deep truth, and I did not want to be honest with others, especially my family. A conversation with my parents opened the door to Hyde and made me less fearful and more accepting. I knew Hyde would make me face myself, and I was right. After going against Hyde for so long, I gave in, and I learned how to express myself. I learned how to communicate with others in an authentic way. I learned how to develop real social skills, which I was lacking. Most importantly, I learned how to be who I really am. Last year, I came out to the whole school as transgender. I instantly felt accepted and wasn't afraid to be judged. After a few weeks, I moved into one of the girls' dorms. On the track team, I switched over to the girls' team and even won some of my events. Over the course of this year, I've become more confident and comfortable in my own skin. The person I was 4 years ago would never be recognized as the person who is standing here today. 4 years ago, I never wanted to come back to this campus. 4 years ago, I didn't have any of the friends I have today. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to come up and speak in front of everyone. 4 years later, I stand up here, ending one chapter of my life and starting another. To put what I have learned to the test, I'm going to Europe to see friends and truly express myself. Thank you.
Ruby Jane Mondanaro.
Do you want to go to Hyde? No. At least that was my answer my first year. At first, I barely had my own name, and half the staff called me by my sister's name. If you saw me outside during my free time, there was something wrong. I was put on a pedestal that I was not willing to stand on, and it wasn't until I embraced the saying, "If you can't get out of it, get into it," that I began to crawl my way to victory. I'm the type of person who likes to keep personal things personal, but that's not how Hyde does things, apparently. While I'm still pretty closed off, I've learned to share my own experiences and let others know things about myself I would never have even thought of telling anyone before now. And through my time at Hyde, I have learned a few things. I am wise, I am kind, I am stubborn and immature, but I am growing. I remember my first FLC when I wrote a letter to my mom about how miserable I was, but it was in that letter that I realized, wow, I have a lot to work on. Life is about working through hardships and experiencing life. A closed mind will only get in the way of that, and I have made growth in being more positive and learning some humility. Looking back on it now, I wouldn't have gotten this far going to any other school. And while I didn't appreciate it at the time, my parents not listening to me was what was best for me after all. The resolve they had toward me attending this school is something that I will thank them for. And with that, I believe I am ready to grow even more in the next part of my journey. Thank you.
Amanda Catherine Morgan.
When I first got to Hyde as a 13-year-old, I had a huge attitude that made me think it was me against the world and that nobody understood me. I had walls built up 100 feet high so I wouldn't let anybody in. With that, I made friends, but I still wouldn't get attached to them. I feared that everyone was going to leave me if I let them in because that's what happened with my dad. After he passed away, I didn't want to let anyone through my walls. I thought that one day they would just disappear from my life. That's where I went wrong. My third year here is when I started to let down my walls and get closer to the people who I actually cared about. I realized I had great outlets for anger and creativity through throwing shot put and creating, designing, and building furniture, among other things. If you have ever seen me throw, you know that I yell when I release the shot. I do this because it helps me release all the feelings that I have to get rid of, that I need to get rid of. When I create things, it makes me feel good. It helps me remember that I am more than just a little girl who lost her father. I am an independent young woman who can do anything I put my mind to. As Walt Disney once said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that's what I'm doing. I will be attending my dream school, SUNY Delhi, in the fall to study construction management and technologies, along with trying out for the track and field team. Hyde, with the help of the faculty and staff and my family and friends, has made me who I am today, and I am grateful. Thank you.
Liddy Maramba Chanda.
Lord. When I was 15, okay. When I was 15, I got basketball scholarship to study in America. I never been out Democratic Republic of Congo or even far from my family. I traveled 5 hours to the airport, and 24 hours later, after changing plane 3 times, I landed in Philadelphia. I was scared, but that was just the beginning. I started school not knowing how to speak or read in English. I could not understand the teachers. I had nowhere to tell them, and the school did not care. They cared only about me playing basketball. I started failing classes, then COVID hit. I failed here, and I was all alone. My last host family was a big blessing in my life. And we talk about me going to another school with a better academic sport. Thank God my guardian know about Hyde. Coming to Hyde was a big decision in my life. I found a great forever friends, teachers who worked with me so I could succeed in college, and coaches who helped me to develop my basketball skills. But it was not all about basketball and academics. I also learned to be a better person, and I saw how I can help others. There are a lot I could say about Hyde, how it transformed a life of a young girl who traveled far to find her future in a country where she knew nobody. Hyde made me feel at home. So I said thank you for all the support and the love that you guys give to me. This is the message to my parents back home. I hope they're watching the YouTube. Papa et maman, merci pour l'opportunité que vous m'avez donnée de venir en Amérique pour atteindre mes rêves. Vous avez sacrifié beaucoup de choses pour moi. Merci de faire tout ce qui est imaginable pour me rendre heureuse. And what can I say? Mwamba out. Thank you.
Eliana, Luna, or Silo? James Thomas Phelan.
Good morning. Good morning also to my family and my granny who's watching on a video somewhere. My name is James Phelan and I come here from my home in Portlaoise, Ireland. In my college essay, I wrote about the Robert Frost quote, "Two roads diverge in a yellow wood." Last year before leaving, my two paths were to choose between either staying at home and attending college in Ireland or moving to America for a postgrad year. Leaving home to come to America has been the most important decision of my life. My first few weeks over here were challenging, but definitely interesting. New people, new school, new basketball team, a new life. Meeting new people was fun, and I quickly made connections with people who I know will last a lifetime. What my two best friends here at Hyde have been through have been nothing short of a Hollywood movie. The laughs, the funny memories, the struggles, the basketball championship, and even the occasional bit of trouble. Of course, Hyde comes with its challenges too. The heavy schedule and the general feeling of discomfort sometimes were not easy to deal with. But in these times of struggles, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I can persevere through whatever is in front of me, regardless of how large the obstacles feel. All in all, I wouldn't trade my experience for anything else. I met some great people, gained lifelong friends, and learned lessons that I'll always remember. In my college essay, I wrote about the Robert Frost quote, two roads diverge in a yellow wood. And now to finish that quote once and for all, I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Thank you.
Fernanda Sanchez Machado Hocha.
Isn't it funny how life, some things put your whole life into perspective? 3 years ago, my life changed drastically. My aunt had cancer and was living in a hospital. One day, my mom came to me and told me that if I wanted to see her again, I should visit her soon because her condition was getting worse. That was on a Wednesday. And I told her that I would visit her on Saturday because I had to study for a test on Friday. My aunt died the next day. It has been a long time, but every day I still regret not saying goodbye. That showed me the importance of every single moment we have. It showed me to make the best of every moment because it might just be the last. At school this year, the question, "Who inspires you?" was asked, and at that moment, I felt compelled to share the story about my aunt. At that minute, I never got the chance to explain what in her really amazed me. Her joy and resilience throughout her whole life are what really inspires me. In any bad situation, she just had so much faith and was hopeful for better times. She made me realize that our lives and our experience is what shape us. All we have are moments. I am my memories, thoughts, feelings, relationships, and values. This past year, I learned a lot about myself and about my role in my family. I learned how to forgive them and how to ask for forgiveness. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I learned this year that I always will have support, not only for those who love and care for me, but most importantly, I learned how to trust myself to make the right decisions and embrace change.
Jaden Lee Horton.
My main goal coming to Hyde as a postgraduate was to continue to be successful in basketball. At first, that was all that really mattered to me. I soon came to realize Hyde had a lot more to offer than just basketball. I never thought I would be dancing in front of all the families or singing a song in front of the whole school. My heart raced, and I was not a fan of having to do that. I was nervous about speaking in front of everyone because I lacked confidence. I can definitely tell you Hyde has helped me with my confidence. I feel basketball was a turning point for me this year. During the season, my confidence on and off the court was really high, and it showed in games. The moment we shared as a team were unforgettable. We had a lot of challenges during the season, but we were able to overcome them to win the New England championship. I learned to never give up no matter what challenges come into your life, and I can always overcome anything as long as I put my mind to it. This spring, I faced one of the biggest challenges all year. It was my first time trying lacrosse, and I let my anger get the best of me on multiple occasions. I was given some time to reflect on my actions, and it benefited me and showed me my best, and it also helped me finish the year strong. I have made memories that I will never forget. I made friendships that will last a lifetime. I want to give a special thanks to my parents for making the sacrifice and giving me the opportunity to come to Hyde. Thank you.
Sarah Alice Benedetta Tomasco. Andrew Wong.
Good morning, everyone. My whole life, I've struggled with finishing what I start. Whether it's half-read books, unfolded laundry, or starting 3 Netflix shows at once. A more serious example of this was my 8th grade summer. I wanted to go to a private high school to have the best experience possible, so my days were filled with tours, interviews, and placement tests. All this work supposedly paid off when my parents received the news I had been accepted to one of the prep schools I wanted to go to most, and even received some scholarship money. My parents happily paid the deposit, and everything was going good until it came time for me to follow through. I actually refused to go to this prep school I was so determined to get into, which ultimately became one of my greatest regrets. A couple of weeks ago, me and my dad were talking, and I brought up leaving Hyde before senior evaluations. He obviously encouraged me to stick it out, but told me it was ultimately my decision in the end. The majority of my friends had either already left or were planning to do so. I felt at the time that I had nothing more to gain from Hyde, and I wanted to throw in the towel. Through having conversations with my family and the people who I've grown to consider my family, I realized I wouldn't only be letting myself down if I did this. After all the love and support my parents poured into me, I couldn't just give up now. Most importantly, I had to prove to myself that I wasn't a quitter. So now I'm starting this next chapter of my life with pride, knowing I'm not a quitter. not a letdown, and all it took was the courage to finish. Thank you.
Graduating with honors today, Mika Wedman.
You may know me from the last time I've delivered a speech on this stage. When I came to Hyde, I had just turned 15. I was shy and timid, eager to take on the world, but afraid to show it. But by the time I had reached the winter of my second year, it was clear to me that I wanted more than a merely fun American experience. Naively thinking I had learned all of the lessons Hyde could teach me, I contemplated my return to campus for a postgraduate year. But eventually I decided to bet on my potential and go all in. Looking for internships, and if I'm being honest, stalking our director of academics a little bit, I became the student academic dean. I also had the privilege of working with faculty to implement change in our community and leading the project People Are Created Equal, promoting diversity awareness. One of the gifts I received from the project was researching my family's history. My ancestors were victims of hate crimes and survivors of world wars. My great-grandfather was burned in his own home for being Jewish, and my grandfather had to run away from Syria as a 13-year-old boy to escape a bitter fate. Their life stories continue to inspire me to stand strong and overcome adversity in my own life. We are all trying to navigate a world where inequality still exists. Trying to educate the community regarding these topics have allowed me to be vulnerable. I also became aware of the importance of strong female leaders and why more of us women need to rise to the occasion to make this world better. As I'm letting go of Hyde and moving on to a new chapter, I am taking away so much. I am Mika, and I care. I care about my community, a strength I know I can lean on. Thank you.
Saran Leon White.
Good morning. Coming to Hyde, I thought I was going to be a regular athlete during the postgraduate year. Little did I know I was going to enter a whole new phase of self-growth. In my first week at Hyde, I was on the fence about whether I wanted to stay. I felt like I couldn't relate to anyone, but after hearing my Discovery Group's life story, I challenged myself to finish out the year to the best of my ability and form great relationships with as many people as I can. Hyde has tested me in many ways. This spring when Ms. Bershey told me to choreograph a dance, I remember saying to myself, there's no way I can make a dance to perform in front of all these parents. I can't even dance myself. I lacked confidence and I was scared that I would embarrass myself. I could have taken the easy way out and told her I didn't want to do it, but I decided to take a leap of faith and jump in. I was proud of myself and I learned that without a challenge, there's no progress. There were definitely times when I wanted to quit, but my determination to succeed carried me through every time. Looking at myself now, I am proud of the person I've become. I've developed skills that will help me throughout the rest of my life. Before all my lessons came from the field, now they come from the dance field too. I wanted to say thank you to my parents for raising a handsome young man and being my biggest supporters. Thank you to my dad for teaching me integrity and accountability at all times. Thank you to my mom for teaching me how to be an upstanding young man. Thank you to everyone that supported me along my journey. Thank you.
challenging way, shoot.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This story begins with a 50-year-old boy who takes a 50-hour flight from Xiamen to Hong Kong to New York and finally to Batman. This boy comes from a place where he grew up to a completely unfamiliar country, a new culture, a new language. This boy experienced his high school life from nervousness to curiosity. I am this boy. My name is Brian Xu. Why do I choose Hyde? Before I arrived here, I went to browse an official website of Hyde. It was very attractive to me. It said that a Hyde school had its own island, which often allows students to experience a different life. I was amazed by this. But when I come to Hyde, the senior told me that only students who get into trouble would be sent to that island. Yeah, that's pretty funny. And they couldn't take a bath and could only sleep in a sleeping bag, which was a punishment. This despaired my desire to go to that island. And I am a very shy person. In the first year of coming to Hyde, I struggled to communicate with people. This caused me to be very isolated. Fortunately, I have a group of good teachers and classmates who encouraged me and supported me when I was frustrated. Now I am confident and cheerful. Recently, I shared my Hyde life and experience in front of a whole school. At first, I was afraid that I would make mistakes in my speech. My hands were shaking. When I finished the speech, the audience gave me a big round of applause, and I was very proud about myself. I want to thank all those who love me and those I love. During my 4 years at Hyde, I joined not only knowledge but also the best gift for the future. We may go to a different college and live in different places in the world, but please don't forget that we are family Hyde. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Mika Webman. I'm gonna sing a song in Hebrew today, and one of the lines is, find a moment to hold on to, stop for a minute, say that you've made it.
לקום כל בוקר ולצאת לחיים ולנסות הכל לפני שיגמר, לחפש מאיפה באנו, לחזור בסוף תמיד להתחלה, למצוא בכל דבר עוד יופי ולרקוד עד שנופלים מעייפות או אהבה. כל הרגעים בזמן למצוא אחד לאחוז בו, להגיד שהגענו, תמיד לזכור לרגע לעצור ולהודות על מה שיש ומאיפה שבאנו, לחבק אותה בלילה כשהיא נרדמת אז כל העולם נרגע, לנשום אותה עמוק, לדעת שתמיד אני אהיה שם בשבילה. לחפש מאיפה באנו ולחזור בסוף תמיד להתחלה. למצוא בכל דבר עוד יופי ולרקוד עד שנופלים מעייפות או אהבה. כל הרגעים בזמן למצוא אחד לאחוז בו, להגיד שהגענו. תמיד לזכור לרגע לעצור ולהודות על מה שיש ומאיפה שבאנו. לחבק אותה בלילה כשהיא נרדמת אז כל העולם נרגע. לנשום אותה עמוק לדעת שתמיד אני אהיה שם בשבילה.
Seniors, I say to you today, we're proud of you, we'll miss you, and on behalf of Hyde School, I'd like to present to all of us here today the now graduating class of 2022. Congratulations.